Darren O'Neal wasn't just the founder of a barbecue empire. He was its soul. Every rib rubbed, every brisket slow-moked over mesquite, it all bore the weight of 12 relentless years. What started as a rust-stained food truck and a folding table on the edge of a gas station had become 16 bustling restaurants sprawled across Texas and Oklahoma. Instead, they told the story. Grainy photographs of long lines in the summer heat, faded menus handwritten in Sharpie, floors covered in sawdust and spilled sweet tea. Each snapshot echoed the pain, the hustle, the doubt he had swallowed down night after night. But lately, a silent unease tugged at him. The spreadsheets were clean, profits steady, but something colder had crept in. Reviews from his Arlington location, once glowing with words like home, family, and worth the wait, had dimmed. Customers spoke now of cold interactions, of being rushed, of walking out with full stomachs and empty hearts. His district manager Colby waved it off. "It's just a few high-maintenance folks," he said, with a smirk that made Darren's jaw tighten. But Darren trusted his gut more than a graph, and his gut was growling with suspicion. He hadn't stepped foot in that location in over a year. Growth had forced distance. He couldn't be everywhere. Most of the current staff wouldn't recognize him. To them, Darren O'Neal was just a name stamped at the bottom of a paycheck, not the man who once cleaned grease traps at midnight to save on janitorial costs. That anonymity suited him fine. For now. So, on a quiet Wednesday evening, Darren traded his tailored suit for a black t-shirt, a worn pair of jeans, and a Houston Astros cap pulled low. He let his beard grow out just enough to cast a shadow over the sharpness of his jaw. His assistant booked him a rideshare. No signature truck to give him away. He added dark-tinted glasses for good measure. At 6:15 p.m., he walked into the Arlington restaurant, looking like any exhausted Texan grabbing dinner after work. The place was half full. The low hum of country music filled the air. The smell of smoked meat and sweet cornbread curled into his nostrils like a memory from a better time. A teenage hostess, probably working her first job, greeted him with practiced indifference. "Table for one?" she asked. "Yeah," Darren replied with a quiet smile. She led him to a window booth. 2 tables over sat a family, a mother, father, and 3 children. The youngest, no older than 6, was scribbling colorfully across a kid's menu with bright crayons. Darren opened his own menu, but his focus sharpened as he listened in. Then came the server. Short, spiky blonde hair, broad shoulders. His name tag read Travis. He approached the family without warmth, barely glancing up. "You guys ready?" he asked flatly. The father nodded. "Yeah, we'll take 2 brisket and rib combos. The kids'll have chicken strips." Travis arched a brow. "You sure you need all that?" The father blinked. "Sorry?" Travis chuckled, but his tone sliced through the air. "Just saying. Y'all already look like you've been hitting the buffet line pretty hard. Might want to ease up." The silence was instant, crushing. The mother flushed crimson. The kids stopped coloring, their crayons frozen in little hands. The father's jaw flexed, a forced calm in his voice. "We'll have what we ordered." Travis shrugged, muttering something Darren couldn't catch as he walked away. Underneath the table, Darren's fists clenched. Rage pulsed in his temples, but more than anger, it was heartbreak that hit him hardest. This wasn't just bad service. This was cruelty served with a smirk, the kind that lingered far longer than a bad meal. The youngest child looked up, eyes wide with confusion. "Are we in trouble?" he whispered. The mother shook her head, wiping at her eyes with a trembling napkin. Darren stood, not in fury, but with purpose. He didn't say a word to the family, only offered a quiet nod as he passed. He walked straight to the counter where a young woman was boxing up to-go orders with quick, practiced movements. Her name tag read Zadei. Darren leaned in close, voice low and calm. "Who's the manager on duty?" Zadie glanced up, surprised. Travis, why?" Darren gave a thin smile. "I'll handle that later." She nodded, still puzzled, as Darren walked out, empty-handed. His appetite gone, his soul boiling. That night in his hotel room, sleep never came. He sat at the desk, staring at a blank legal pad until words finally poured out. A plan. A reckoning. He wasn't just showing up as a customer tomorrow. He was coming back as the man who built this place from ash and flame. And Travis. Travis had no idea the storm that was about to roll in. By 9:45 a.m. the next morning, Darren was already parked in a rented sedan near the Arlington store. The driver's seat was leaned back just enough to avoid suspicion. One by one, employees trickled in. Some smoked by the dumpster, others shared lazy jokes, eyes still glazed from lack of sleep. At 10:10, Travis strolled in, fountain drink in one hand, eyes locked on his phone, not a care in the world. Same cocky stride, same spiky hair. Darren inhaled slowly and stepped out into the warm morning air. He rounded the back of the building, slipping in through the employee entrance. The kitchen was alive with motion. Bacon sizzling, onions being diced, the low static of a radio humming over the clatter. The scent of vinegar and hickory wrapped around him like a cloak of memories. He approached a young man slicing sausage at the prep station. "Morning." His voice was calm, but his mission had just begun. Darren approached the young man at the prep station with the calm confidence of someone who had peeled onions through tears and washed grease traps more times than he could count. "Hey," he said, adjusting his voice to sound more like the new guy than the CEO. "I'm here for my first day. Was told to ask for Zadie." The guy blinked, a little confused, then pointed toward the front. "She's out by the counter, tea station." There she was, her sleeves rolled up, hair pulled back in a no-nonsense ponytail, moving like someone who didn't just survive chaos but commanded it. She worked with a quiet steadiness that reminded Darren of his best days in the truck, when grit had to substitute for manpower. "Zadie?" he asked, stepping in. She looked over, measured. "Yeah, Lord," they said. "I'm starting today. Prep encounter, I think. Office sent the paperwork ahead." Her eyes scanned his face. Not suspicion, assessment. Then a slow nod. "Yeah, they mentioned someone new. Didn't catch your name, though." "Devon," he said smoothly. "Devon Miles." She handed him an apron. "You worked food before?" Darren tied it around his waist like he'd done 1,000 times. "Some kitchen work here and there. Nothing fancy." "Cool. We'll start you with dishes and trash. Then you help stock up front. Lunch hits fast and hits hard." Darren followed her, keeping step with her rhythm. She was brisk, sharp, but not brittle. She gave direction without condescension, moved with urgency but not panic. It was the kind of leadership that didn't bark, it pulled others along simply by moving forward. By 11:15, the crowd started to thicken. The usual faces drifted in first, contractors still wearing their work boots, UPS drivers on tight schedules, older couples who came every Thursday and didn't need menus anymore. Darren kept his head low, wiped tables, stocked sauces, monitored everything while pretending he was just getting the hang of it. At 11:30, Travis emerged. Freshly gelled hair, name tag straight, gum snapping like punctuation. He didn't look at Darren. Just leaned to the front register, where Zadie was already juggling orders. "You gonna be long?" he asked, reaching over her like she wasn't even there. "Still have 5 tickets to close," she replied, calm but clipped. "You can open the other till." Travis ignored the suggestion and started punching at the same screen. Zadie just stepped aside, not in submission, but in surrender. She was tired, not weak, just tired of fighting every inch of ground. The lunch wave crashed at 11:45. The line curled toward the door, customers chattering, trays clattering, brisket flying off the pit. A runner dropped 2 sweet teas. "Son of a," he muttered, grabbing the mop. Darren kept moving, trays, napkins, iced tea. He noticed that Zadie hadn't taken a single break, not even a sip of water. At 12:10, Trouble strolled in wearing lip gloss and denim. 3 college-age girls walked up to the counter like they owned the room. Sharp jeans, boots, expensive hoodies. One held a notepad. Influencers, probably, looking for content that felt authentic. Darren was wiping the front glass when he heard Travis pounce. "Let me guess," he said, raising a brow. "Y'all here for the rustic vibe, huh?" They laughed, awkward and unsure. "Actually," one replied, "we're doing a write-up on local food spots. We've heard good things." Travis leaned on the counter like a used car salesman. "Well, some of us work around here. Others just show up to look busy." He didn't say her name, but the way he glanced toward Zarebi, bent over restocking sauces, it was clear who he meant. The girl with the notepad hesitated. "Do you recommend anything?" Travis grinned. "Tell you what, get the pulled pork sandwich. If it doesn't make you cry tears of joy, I'll let you take a picture with me for your little blog." One girl laughed too loudly. Another shifted her weight, visibly uncomfortable. That's when Darren stepped in. "Zadie, want me to take counter 5? She looked over, surprised. "You sure?" "Yeah, got it." She handed him a towel. No words, just relief. Travis looked over. "Eager, huh? Day 1? Darren smiled thinly. "Just helping where I can." Travis half laughed. "Well, don't mess up. We're not a charity." Darren turned to the next customer, jaw tight. That comment didn't sting him, but he knew exactly who it was meant to sting. By 12:45, the storm passed. Orders slowed. Darren slipped into the back to grab a bag of ice when voices cut through the hum of the kitchen. "Not doing her job, too," Travis snapped. "She's not even full-time." Zadie's voice was low, firm. "I've covered every register shift this week. You approved the schedule." "Yeah, and now you're whining about being tired?" "Pointing out we're short 2 people, and you haven't trained the new hires. Maybe they wouldn't bail if you didn't scare 'em off with that attitude." Darren stepped around the corner. Their argument died on sight. "I was just grabbing ice," he said, voice even. Travis grumbled and disappeared. Zadie didn't move. "You good?" Darren asked. She exhaled. "Just another day." "This happen a lot?" "Depends," she said. "If customers are around, he's all smiles. When they're not, he turns." "You ever report it?" She looked toward the ceiling, expression flat. "To who?" "He is the manager." Darren nodded once, said nothing more. At 2:10, the dining room had finally cleared. Zadie sat in the back, alone, eating a cold chicken thigh and half a muffin. Her phone stayed in her pocket. She ate in silence, eyes half closed, body heavy with fatigue. Darren noticed the schedule board. Her name was scribbled in again and again, triple the shifts of anyone else. A few minutes later, Travis reappeared with a clipboard. "Hey, Devin," he said. "Got a sec?" Darren followed him to the prep sink. "You seem all right," Travis said. "Just keep your head down, yeah? Don't get caught up in "What drama?" Darren asked, playing dumb. Travis grinned. "Crooked? You'll see. Some folks like to play victim. Easier than working." Darren met his eyes, cold, unblinking. "I'll do my part." "Cool. Just don't get too close to that one," he said, jerking his head toward the front. "Girl's got a chip on her shoulder." Darren didn't answer. He didn't need to. By 3:30, his shift ended. He clocked out quietly, Zayde was still there, boxing up catering trays. Travis had vanished again, this time into the comfort of his locked office. Darren sat behind the wheel of his car, staring up at the cloudless blue sky. Travis hadn't just failed as a manager. He had poisoned something sacred. Darren was no longer angry. He was resolved. One bad comment could be forgiven, a moment of poor judgment, a misplaced word, but Travis wasn't a moment. He was a pattern. A storm cloud that hovered over the restaurant, raining sarcasm, favoritism, and cruelty wherever he walked. He turned tension into routine and disrespect into habit. What Darren saw wasn't just a flawed manager. It was a rot that had sunk into the floorboards, poisoning the air the staff had to breathe. And yet, through that decay, one person had kept it all from collapsing. Zedeye. She wasn't loud about it. She didn't complain. But she showed up. Every day. Steady hands, sharp eyes, and a spine of steel. Darren had seen her type before. They didn't lead with ego or bark orders. They carried people, quietly and without thanks. They were the kind that never made the highlight reel, but without whom the game would fall apart. Darren opened the Notes app on his phone and started typing. Bullet points, ideas, actions. Tomorrow wouldn't be another reconnaissance trip. Tomorrow would be Judgment Day. By 9:45 a.m. the next morning, he was back. No hat, no disguise. Just Darren O'Neal, the man who started this thing with smoke, grit, and belief. He walked in through the front doors as the crew was cracking open coolers and sorting sauces. No pretense, no more watching from the shadows. Zadie stood hunched over a clipboard near the dry goods shelf, matching delivery invoices to inventory, her face etched with concentration. When she looked up and recognized him, her reaction was subtle. Just a slight double take, a flicker of understanding. "Morning," she said cautiously. "Morning. You got a minute?" "Darren." She nodded, setting the clipboard aside. They stepped away from the bustle, near the dry storage where flour sacks muffled the world. "I'm not Devin," Darren said. "Name's Darren O'Neal. I own this place." Zadie didn't blink, just exhaled, long and slow. "That explains a lot. You've been holding this place together," Darren continued. "I saw it the second I stepped inside." She crossed her arms. "It's not hard when no one else is trying." "How long's Travis been like this?" "Since December," she said. "He transferred in after the last manager quit. We lost 3 people the first month, 2 more after that. He says it's them, but it's him. The customers feel it. Staff burns out, and I've been covering the cracks because no one else sticks around." Darren nodded, jaw set. "Where is he?" "Office," she said. "He usually hides there till lunch. Can you get him for me?" She didn't ask questions, just turned and walked. Darren stepped into the dining area and waited near the register as early customers began to trickle in. Travis emerged minutes later, phone in hand, Bluetooth earpiece flashing. "I hear we've got some corporate guy snooping around," he said, scanning the room. Darren locked eyes with him. "You remember that family you insulted 2 nights ago?" Travis froze. "You commented on their order, on how they looked." I didn't mean anything, just a joke, man. People know I joke around." "No, they don't," Aaron said, voice flat. "That little boy thought his family was in trouble. You humiliated them. And that's just one moment. You've bullied staff, driven away good people, and turned this place toxic. I've seen it myself." Travis shifted his weight, uncomfortable now. "I didn't know who you were." "You shouldn't need to," Darren snapped. "That's the problem." Travis glanced toward Zayi, who stood silently by the coffee station, arms folded. "You're done," Darren said. "Effective immediately. Clean out your locker. Payroll will have your final check ready by tomorrow." Travis opened his mouth, but there was nothing to say. He turned and walked away. Darren turned to Zadie. "How soon can you get someone to cover today?" "I'll call Brianna," she said. "She's part-time, but said she could do more." "You'll be paid extra. And we're bringing in help. What you've done alone ends now." She gave a nod. "Appreciate that." The rest of the day moved like a slow exhale. Darren stayed up front, filling coffee, wiping down windows, talking to customers. Really talking. What they loved, what needed work. They were honest. Some were blunt. He welcomed it all. By noon, Brianna arrived, a sharp-eyed woman in her early 20s, confident and steady. She handled the register like it was second nature. Zadie moved to the back, and for the first time in weeks, the kitchen moved without edge or friction. Later, Darren stepped into the office that Travis had claimed as his throne. The space was a mess. Supplements, energy drink cans, a hoodie tossed over the chair. On the whiteboard in cheap red marker, a quote, "Leadership is about power. Use it." Darren erased it. He pulled open drawers, skimmed shift logs, pages missing, notes vague, complaints scribbled half-heartedly in pencil. He took photos of everything. This wasn't oversight. It was sabotage through neglect. By evening, something extraordinary happened. The restaurant felt light, like someone had opened a window. And then, at 5:30, Darren paused mid-step. That same family walked in. The dad scanned the space with nervous eyes. The mom held a small purse tight. The little boy clutched a worn stuffed dinosaur. Darren stepped forward. "Welcome back," he said gently. The dad hesitated. "We weren't sure we should." "I was here that night," Darren said. "I'm the owner. What happened was unacceptable. That employee is no longer with us." The mom's eyes widened. "You saw it?" He nodded. "I built this place 12 years ago. It's not perfect, but that should never happen under my name. Your meal tonight's on the house, and if it's all right, I'd like to sit with you after." The father looked at his wife, then back. "We'd like that." They were seated. Zadie came out personally to take their order. She crouched slightly when speaking to the kids, letting them pick their sides. The boy smiled as he chose mac and cheese and fried okra. The warmth returned. When they finished eating, Darren joined them. "I grew up in a family of 6, he shared. "We didn't have much, but around a table, that's where we felt like people again. What happened here betrayed that." The mother's voice softened. "We just wanted a night out." "You deserve it," Darren said. "Anytime." They left with bags of leftovers and a handwritten note from Darren with his personal number. When the door closed behind them, he turned to Zadie. "How many open positions?" "There's 2 full-time, 1 part-time," she said, "but people don't stick." "The changes. Tomorrow a regional hiring manager comes in. We're launching paid training, retention bonuses, and real career paths." She raised a brow. "That won't be cheap." "Neither is replacing people every month," Darren replied. "I'd rather invest in people who want to be here." She nodded once. "We're also creating a new role, shift supervisor. You'll report directly to the district lead. It'll give you authority without burying you in paperwork." She was quiet for a beat. Then, "I'll do it. But only if we pull the rest of the team up with us." Darren smiled. As the final guests left and the soft echo of boots faded from the floorboards, Darren grabbed a mop and started working the floor alongside the others. He didn't speak much. He didn't need to. The playlist had shifted to slow, mournful blues, and the last fryers hissed their goodbyes in a quiet kitchen. Every motion, every swipe of the mop felt like wiping away a layer of the past, one stained by stress, fear, and fatigue. Before stepping out, Darren paused near the front door, hands on his hips. He scanned the space. Same brick walls, same scratched tabletops, Same crooked fan blade still spinning too slow near the entrance. But the weight in the room had changed. The tension had loosened. It felt breathable again, lighter, like the soul of the place had exhaled for the first time in months. He turned to Zadie. "Tomorrow I'm bringing the district manager. We're going over everything, schedules, budget, staffing." She nodded, exhausted but composed. "But tonight," he added, "you ran the show." A flicker of a smile crossed her face. "Felt like a different restaurant." "That's because it is now." He stepped out into the night, the scent of wood smoke still clinging to his shirt, like a reminder of everything he'd built and everything he nearly lost. The next morning, Darren returned at 7:30. The air was already warm, the hum of summer drifting in on a faint breeze of mesquite smoke from the back vents. He unlocked the front door himself, stepping into the cool, quiet stillness of the dining room. Clean tables, neatly stacked chairs, polished counters. The aftermath of a team that finally believed in the work again. 10 minutes later, Zadie arrived with a thermos in one hand and a binder in the other. She didn't look surprised to see him. "Figured you'd be early," she said, setting the binder on the counter. "Pulled the last 4 weeks of shift logs. You'll want to see them." "Appreciate it," Darren replied. "We'll go through them with the district rep soon." They worked in rhythm, almost in silence. Lights flicked on, coolers checked, stock reviewed. Zadie was sharp, methodical. She didn't cut corners. When she found that 2 sauce crates had been marked as delivered but never arrived, she made a note and circled the line twice. Darren added it to a growing list of what needed to change. At 8:30, Colby, the district manager, walked in. Button-down shirt, clipboard tucked under his arm, the kind of guy who looked busy even when he wasn't. He stopped short when he saw Darren behind the counter. "Didn't know you were coming again this week." "I didn't announce it," Darren said, voice clipped. "We've got problems to solve." Colby gave a reluctant nod. "I heard about Travis." "Bit sudden." "No, it wasn't," Darren shot back. "It was overdue, and if you'd been paying closer attention, you'd have seen it." Colby's jaw tensed. Darren gestured toward a booth near the window. "Let's sit." They slid into the booth, and Zadie joined them, laying the binder on the table. Darren flipped it open, sliding it toward Colby. "He's been covering more than double her scheduled hours. Turnover's constant, and I found no documentation of formal complaints followed up." Colby glanced through the logs, blinking. "I reviewed these. I just didn't realize it was this bad." "No." "You didn't ask. You trusted one guy and ignored every red flag. Reviews dropped. Hours spiked. You never called floor leads. Never walked through these doors. This wasn't just a bad hire. This was a breakdown of oversight." Colby leaned back, quiet now. "I can do better." "You'll have to," Darren said. "Effective today. Zadie reports directly to me until we stabilize this location. You support her. You don't manage her. Clear?" Colby nodded, subdued. "Clear." Zadie didn't lift her eyes, but her posture held firm. "We're reviewing every store in your region," Darren continued. "If I find anything like what happened here, you won't be in your seat next week." Colby swallowed. "I get it." Turning to Zadie, Darren added, 2 temporary hires start Monday. 1 in the kitchen, 1 for the front. We'll run staggered shifts until the roster is rebuilt." She nodded once. "That'll help." "It's still tight," Darren admitted. "But it's a start." At 9:30, the doors opened. A light breakfast crowd drifted in. Retirees, early risers, a few construction crews grabbing brisket tacos and hot coffee. Darren stayed back, letting the system breathe. Watching. Zadie commanded the register with calm ease. At 10, Brianna arrived, confident, alert, and on point. By 11:15, Darren stepped outside to take a call, It was the father from the family he'd spoken with the night before. "I just wanted to say thank you," the man said. "Not just for the meal, for how you handled it. You didn't deserve what happened." Darren said, "I'm sorry I didn't step in faster." "You did more than most," the man replied. "My wife cried on the way home, but it wasn't the same kind of tears." After the call, Darren stood for a moment under the awning, watching a delivery truck ease into the loading bay. Inside, the room was nearly half full. Conversations hummed. No tension, just life. At one point, a woman carrying a toddler approached the counter. The child reached for a cookie behind the glass. Without pause, Zadie leaned down, smiled, and offered him a small sample on a napkin. The mother blinked, surprised. Then she smiled too. Darren nudged Colby, who was restocking napkins now. "You see that?" Darren said. Colby nodded. "She didn't do that because someone told her to. She did it because that's what this place was built on." "I get that now," Colby said. "Been looking at spreadsheets too long. Then start looking at people." By 2:30, the lunch rush faded. The team cleaned tables, rotated heat lamps, prepped for the evening shift. Darren called them into a loose circle near the register. "I want to say something," he began, voice steady. "This place was built on long days and short budgets, but we never cut corners on people." He paused. The silence was thick. "Somewhere along the way, that got lost, and that's on me. I let distance turn into neglect, but that ends now." He looked at their faces, some wary, some hopeful, all listening. "We're not just rebuilding staffing, we're rebuilding trust. You deserve better. That starts today." He gestured toward the break room. "We're putting up a hiring board. Know someone good? Bring them. We'll train them, pay them right, give them a place worth staying." Zadie raised her hand slightly. "What about advancement? People leave when they don't see a future." "You're right," Darren said. "Starting next quarter, we're building a leadership track. Promotions will come from within. Every opportunity posted. Every voice counted." Someone murmured, "About time." Darren smiled faintly. "Yeah, it is." The team slowly dispersed. Overhead, a gentle guitar track played as the clouds outside hinted at rain. Darren stayed through dinner, but didn't hover. He watched. Observed. The energy held. No tension, just purpose. No one was rushed. No one felt small. At close, he helped wipe the windows. Zadie counted the drawer in silence. When she finished, she asked, "You staying in town?" "A few more days," Darren said. "Want to make sure the new hires find their feet." She nodded. "We'll hold the line." "I know you will." As the last lights dimmed and the doors locked, Darren stepped into the parking lot. The air smelled like rain, fresh, unsettled, but clean. He turned back once. Same sign. Same brick. But inside, the foundation had shifted. And this time, it was strong.